My name is Olivia, and for 18 years I lived with my parents, Vanessa and Malcolm, in a two-story house in a Boston suburb. We weren't the kind of family that had movie nights or went on exciting vacations, but I figured that was just how my parents were: practical, reserved, focused on work and everyday routines. My heart ached every time I scrolled through Instagram seeing other families cuddled together on movie nights or exploring exotic locations. But I buried those feelings deep, convincing myself our family was just different. Mom worked as a financial consultant, spending her evenings with investment portfolios and projections spread across the dining table. Dad was an investment advisor, constantly on calls with clients or preparing sleek presentations. They provided for me, kept me fed and clothed in name-brand attire, helped with homework when I asked, but there was always this invisible wall between us. No warm hugs, no "I love you" thrown around casually like I saw with my friends' parents. I told myself it was just their way, that not every family had to be all touchy-feely to be good. The knot in my stomach tightened every time I posed for their perfectly staged family photos, smiles that disappeared the moment the camera stopped clicking. "Olivia, honey, we need to talk to you after dinner," Mom said on the morning of my 18th birthday. Her tone was unusually serious, but I didn't think much of it. Maybe they had planned something special, though they'd never really made a big deal out of birthdays before. That evening, I sat at our kitchen table, picking at the remains of my birthday dinner: takeout burgers and fries in fancy containers. Mom had barely touched her food, and Dad kept checking his phone, something clearly on his mind. "So, Olivia," Dad finally spoke, putting his phone down. "Your mother and I have been planning something for a while now, and since you're 18 today, it's time we told you." My heart fluttered with nervous anticipation. Maybe news about college preparations, or perhaps even a surprise gift I hadn't dared hope for. What came next felt like being doused with ice water. "We're selling the house," Mom stated flatly. "Your father and I are moving to Europe. We've got an amazing business opportunity there." I stared at them, waiting for the punchline, my fingers nervously twisting a napkin. "Oh, okay. When are we leaving? I mean, I'll need to figure out about college applications and—" "No, Olivia," Mom cut me off, her voice sharp. "We're moving. You're not coming with us." "What do you mean?" My voice came out small, childlike. "I don't understand." "You're 18 now," Dad explained, as if discussing a quarterly report. "An adult. It's time for you to establish your independence." I looked between them, my brain refusing to process what I was hearing. "But what about college? I'm supposed to start in a few months." "We've been talking about it." "That's your responsibility now," Mom said, standing up to clear the fancy takeout containers. "To be honest, Olivia, you've been a burden all these years. We fed you, clothed you, supported you for 18 years. That's more than enough." The words stabbed through me like icicles. A burden? All these years? My vision blurred with tears, but Mom just continued disposing of the containers as if she hadn't just demolished my entire world. "You can stay here until we sell the house," Dad added, his tone suggesting this was some kind of generous concession. "But the sooner you figure out your own situation, the better it will be for everyone." I sat there paralyzed with shock as my parents discussed property values and moving logistics over my head. 18 years of memories suddenly shifted, transformed. Every Instagram perfect family photo, every missed school exhibition, every brief good job instead of a hug, they weren't signs of restraint or different parenting styles. They were signs that my parents had been counting down the days until they could get rid of me. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My hands were trembling as I scrolled through Instagram, seeing my mom had already posted about their exciting new chapter in Europe and how proud they were of my decision to embrace independence. My stomach twisted with anger and betrayal as I dialed Grandma Marion's number. She picked up on the second ring, her warm voice already easing the tightness in my chest. "Livy? Is everything okay, sweetheart? You never call this early." I could barely get the words out, but somehow I managed to tell her everything: the birthday dinner, their announcement, Mom calling me a burden. With each detail, I heard Grandma's breathing getting heavier on the other end of the line. "Those absolute," she muttered something under her breath I'd never heard her say before. Then, in a stronger voice, "Pack your bags, Livy. You're coming to live with me right now." I didn't need to be told twice. I grabbed my largest suitcase and started throwing in everything I could think of: clothes, design sketchbooks, my laptop, the few pieces of jewelry I owned. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely zip the suitcase closed. Downstairs, Mom and Dad were still talking about property values and photographing rooms for real estate listings. They barely looked up when I dragged my suitcase past them and out the door. No goodbye, no questions about where I was going. Nothing. Grandma was waiting on her front porch when I pulled into her driveway. She wrapped me in one of her bear hugs, the kind that made me feel truly seen for the first time in years, and led me inside the cozy house filled with books and colorful artwork I'd always loved visiting. Over cups of her famous hot chocolate with extra marshmallows, just like when I was little, Grandma laid out her plan, her teacher's voice calm but resolute. "First things first, you're going to college," she declared, her tone leaving no room for argument. "I've been saving for this since the day you were born. Those funds are going to good use sending my grandbaby to school." "Grandma, I can't take your money." My voice cracked with emotion. "You're not taking anything. I'm giving it." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "And there's something else you should know. I'm changing my will." I looked up, surprised. Grandma's expression was fierce, her eyes reflecting the determination I'd seen when she'd stand up for students who needed an advocate. "This house, my savings, everything's going to you, Olivia. Not a single penny to your mother. This house isn't much, but it's paid for. The savings aren't millions, but they're enough. It'll all be yours." Later that evening, as we sat in her small but immaculate living room surrounded by art books and handmade quilts, Grandma brought up one more point. "We need to agree on something, Livy," she said carefully. "I think it's best if we keep the details of all this between ourselves. No need to air dirty laundry to the rest of the family." I nodded, understanding immediately. "I don't want to talk about it anyway." "Good," Grandma said, patting my hand. "Let them think what they want. We know the truth, and that's what matters." College life fell into a comfortable routine. Each morning, I'd wake up to the smell of Grandma's coffee and the sound of her humming in the kitchen. We'd have breakfast together before I headed to my marketing classes, and in the evenings, I'd tell her about my projects while she worked on her crossword puzzles. I found myself drawn to classes on digital marketing and social media strategy, fascinated and disturbed by how easily perceptions could be manufactured online, just like my parents had done with our family image. Occasionally, relatives would drop by to visit Grandma. During one such visit, Aunt Lorelei mentioned casually, "Oh, did you hear? Vanessa and Malcolm are killing it in Europe. Their investment consulting firm is doing so well, according to their Instagram." I just nodded and excused myself to study, my stomach churning with disgust. I didn't want to know more about their perfectly curated online fantasy. What was harder to handle were the comments about my independence. They came regularly, wrapped in admiration that made me want to scream until my throat was raw. "You're such a strong young woman, Olivia," Uncle Pierce said during one visit. "Taking charge of your life, moving out on your own. So mature of you." "It's admirable how you decided to make your own way," Cousin Naomi chimed in. "Not everyone your age would choose independence over living with their parents." Each time, I'd force a smile and change the subject, the words burning like acid in my throat. It didn't take long to figure out the story my parents had spun: their driven, independent daughter, so eager to strike out on her own that she'd moved out right after high school. It was easier to let everyone believe the fiction. The truth hurt too much to share. Then came the worst day of my life. Grandma had been feeling tired for weeks, but we both brushed it off as just age catching up with her. By the time we realized it was more than that, it was too late. The doctor said words like aggressive and advanced stage, and before I knew it, I was holding her hand in a hospital room, watching her slip away. During those final weeks, Grandma insisted on having her lawyer visit. "Just getting my affairs in order," she said with a weak smile. I didn't fully understand then how thoroughly she was protecting me. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Livy," she whispered one night, her voice weak but her eyes clear as they had been when she'd stand before a classroom of students. "Don't you ever forget that. Your creativity, your sensitivity, they're gifts, not burdens." She died 3 months later, a year before I was set to graduate. The pain hit me like a physical weight crushing my chest. The one person who had truly seen me was gone. The funeral was small but well attended by family and dozens of her former students. Everyone came except my parents. Aunt Lorelei told me they'd been informed but claimed they couldn't make it back from Europe on such short notice. Their Instagram showed them at a yacht party that same weekend. I graduated with honors the following year, clutching my diploma in marketing with a specialization in digital media, fighting back tears because the one person who believed in my potential wasn't there to see me walk across that stage. But Grandma had prepared me for everything, even her absence. Thanks to her thoughtfulness, I had options. I used some of the inheritance to buy a stylish apartment closer to downtown, where I'd landed a job in the marketing department at Meridian Apparel. I decided to keep her house and rent it out. I couldn't bear to sell it, but I also couldn't face living there without her warmth filling every corner. Life has a funny way of surprising you when you least expect it. That's how I met Ethan. He was part of the architectural team Meridian had hired to design our new flagship store. During a collaborative meeting between marketing and design, I felt my heart flutter when he passionately described how the right spatial design could enhance not just sales, but the customer's emotional experience. "The way people move through a space shapes how they feel," he explained, his eyes lighting up. "It's not just about what looks good in photos, but how it feels to actually be there." I found myself nodding enthusiastically, struck by how his words about authentic experiences versus appearances mirrored my own thoughts about social media versus reality. After the meeting, we both reached for the same coffee pot. "Either you need this as badly as I do, or we're about to fight over caffeine," he joked, his smile reaching his eyes in a way that made my stomach flip. I couldn't help but laugh. "I surrender. But only if you're willing to share secrets about how designers think about space." One coffee conversation led to another, and before I knew it, we were spending every free moment together. Ethan was different from anyone I'd ever met, warm, genuine, and incredibly patient. When I finally told him about my parents one night, he just held me and listened, not trying to fix anything or offer empty platitudes. "You didn't deserve that," was all he said while wiping away my tears with his thumb. "Not any of it. And it says everything about them, nothing about you." A year and a half after that first meeting, Ethan took me to dinner at a small restaurant he'd helped design. He seemed nervous all evening, fidgeting with his napkin and checking his pocket every few minutes. When dessert arrived, I found a ring nestled next to my chocolate soufflé, a stunning yet understated diamond in a setting he'd designed himself. "I want to build a space with you," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "Not just a house, but a home, a real one, filled with all the love and acceptance you should have had all along." I said yes through happy tears, and for the first time in years, I felt truly, completely seen and valued for exactly who I was. The next day, I posted a photo on Instagram, my hand with the ring, Ethan hugging me from behind. "Said yes to building a life with my best friend," I wrote, my heart so full of joy I thought it might burst. 2 days later, a notification appeared on my screen. My mother had liked my post and left a comment, "So happy for you, darling. Call us." My stomach clenched into a tight knot. Then the message appeared in my inbox. My mother's name popped up, and my hands went cold. "Dearest Olivia, your father and I just saw your wonderful news. We are so incredibly happy for you. We know we have no right to ask this, but we spent years regretting how we treated you. Not a day goes by that we don't think about our terrible mistakes. We'd love to come to your engagement party to try to make amends. We understand if you say no, but we miss you so much. Love, Mom and Dad." I stared at the message until the words blurred, my marketing brain instantly analyzing the emotional manipulation tactics they were using, the same ones I'd studied in my persuasive communication classes. When Ethan came home, I showed him the message, my hands trembling. "What do you think?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. Ethan read the message twice, his arm around my shoulders. "I think it's entirely your decision, but if they've genuinely changed, if they're truly sorry, maybe they deserve a chance to prove it." I thought about Grandma, about what she would say. She'd probably tell me to be careful but follow my heart. "Okay," I whispered, more to myself than to Ethan. "One chance." I wrote back a short message, "The party is next Saturday at 7 o'clock. You can come at 6 o'clock to talk first." My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I got ready that Saturday evening. Ethan squeezed my shoulder and kissed my cheek before heading out to pick up the catering, leaving me alone to face my parents. At exactly 6 p.m., the doorbell rang. My heart hammered so hard I could feel it in my fingertips as I opened the door to find them standing there, Mom in a designer dress that still had the price tag partially visible, Dad in a crisp suit that seemed a size too large. They looked exactly the same, yet somehow like strangers from a life I no longer recognized. "Olivia, darling." Mom stepped forward for an awkward hug, her expensive perfume overwhelming my senses. I stood stiffly, letting her embrace me but not returning it, my body rigid with tension. "You look wonderful, and what a lovely apartment. So chic and modern." We moved to the living room, where they perched uncomfortably on the edge of my sofa, studying everything with calculating eyes. Dad commented on the architectural details, Mom asked about my job, both of them acting like we were distant acquaintances at a networking event rather than family. Then Dad cleared his throat, his pleasant expression dropping away like a mask being removed. "Olivia, let's cut to the chase. We know about your situation." "My situation?" I felt my stomach twist into a painful knot. "Yes," Mom leaned forward, her eyes sharp as a predator's. "We know about Marion's inheritance, the house, the savings, all of it. And we've done our research." "What research?" The words came out barely above a whisper. "The house is worth at least $300,000 in today's market," she stated, like she was pitching to investors. "And knowing Mom's careful planning, there must be significant savings too. Plus, we see you're doing very well, stylish apartment, successful architect fiancé." "Get to the point," I said, my voice trembling with anger I couldn't fully contain. "We want $70,000, Dad announced flatly. It's less than we're entitled to, really, but we're being reasonable business people." I stared at them, speechless, feeling the blood drain from my face. Mom pulled out a small leather notebook. "I've calculated everything precisely. As Mom's daughter, I have a legal right to inherit. If you don't give us the money, we'll sue for half of everything, the house, the accounts, all of it." "You can't be serious," I whispered, my throat tightening. "Oh, we are," Dad's voice hardened. "And if you don't cooperate, we'll make sure everyone knows how you manipulated your grandmother, how you turned her against us, convinced her to cut out her own daughter." "I never," my voice cracked with emotion. "It doesn't matter what really happened," Mom cut in sharply. "What matters is what people will believe. Do you want all your relatives to know how you schemed to get your grandmother's money? Want your new in-laws to hear about it? I'm sure they'd love to know the real Olivia before their son marries her." The doorbell rang again, early guests arriving. I stood up, feeling the room spin around me. I need time to think about this." My hands were ice cold. "Think fast," Dad stood, straightening his tie. "We want an answer soon." They walked out just as Ethan's parents walked in, all genuine smiles and warm congratulations. I plastered on a fake smile and tried to focus on greeting guests, but my mind was racing with panic. As the apartment filled with cheerful voices and laughter, I felt like I was drowning in a sea of noise, struggling to breathe. The morning after the engagement party, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my phone. Ethan had gone to work, but not before holding me close and whispering, "Whatever you decide, I'm with you." My hands were steady this time as I dialed their number. Mom picked up on the first ring. Have you made your decision? No hello, no pleasantries, just cold calculation in her voice. Yes, I took a deep breath, feeling a surge of strength flowing through me. I'm not giving you any money. Grandma Marion made her choice, and I'm honoring it. You'll regret this, she hissed and hung up. They didn't waste any time. That evening, my phone started buzzing with notifications. My marketing instincts kicked in immediately when I saw what they'd done. My parents had posted a lengthy message on Instagram and Facebook, complete with sad-faced emojis, carefully filtered photos of them looking distressed, and strategic hashtags like #FamilyCrisis and #AbandonedParents. Our hearts are breaking, the post read. After losing everything in Europe, our beautiful home, our thriving business, all our savings, we turned to our only daughter for help. But Olivia, who was living in luxury with her wealthy architect fiancé, refused to help her own parents. We are now homeless, moving between relatives' homes, not knowing where we'll sleep next week. How did we raise such a heartless child? #FamilyFirst, #PreferUs. Within hours, the post had been shared throughout our entire extended family. My phone exploded with messages that made my stomach churn with each notification. Olivia, how could you? Your own parents. They raised you for 18 years. You have plenty of money now, why can't you help them? Vanessa called me sobbing uncontrollably. They need a place to stay, Olivia. That house of your grandmother's is just sitting there with renters in it. Your own parents should be living there instead of strangers. Uncle Pierce's message was particularly harsh. Your grandmother would be ashamed of you. Marion taught generations of students about compassion. Your parents sacrificed everything for your education and upbringing. I wanted to scream, to tell them all the truth, but my throat burned with emotion every time I tried to respond. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, then retreated, again and again. Then came the wedding cancellations, each one stabbing deeper than the last. I'm sorry, Olivia, but I can't celebrate while your parents are suffering, Cousin Naomi texted. Family has to come first. What kind of person starts a marriage by turning their back on family? Wrote another relative. Think about what this says about your character. The final blow came from Uncle Pierce, who'd always been kind to me at family gatherings. His message was brief and professional. Olivia, as a lawyer, I feel obligated to inform you that I will be representing your parents in their lawsuit against you regarding your grandmother's estate. The law is clear about children's rights to inheritance, and your grandmother's will can be contested. Expect official documentation soon. I recommend you reconsider your position before this gets messy. You don't want to start your married life with a legal battle and family scandal. Uncle Pierce. I sat in my darkened apartment, reading and rereading the messages, watching as my entire extended family turned against me. The irony made me laugh bitterly through my tears. They were finally seeing me as the terrible person my parents had always thought I was, but for all the wrong reasons. Ethan found me there when he got home, still scrolling through the endless stream of accusations and disappointment, my eyes red and swollen. He took one look at my face and pulled me into his arms, his embrace solid and real in contrast to the digital storm swirling around us. I sat at my computer, fingers hovering over the keyboard. My marketing training had taught me all about crafting persuasive narratives, but this wasn't about persuasion, it was about truth. Taking a deep breath, I began to type. To my family and friends, I've stayed quiet for 7 years about what really happened between my parents and me. I let everyone believe their carefully crafted social media version of events because the truth was too painful to share. But now I have no choice. On my 18th birthday, my parents sat me down after a takeout burger dinner and told me they were selling our house and moving to Europe. They informed me I wouldn't be coming with them. You've been a burden for 18 years, my mother said. That's more than enough. They refused to help with college, refused to support me in any way. I was given until the house sold to figure out my own situation. I didn't choose independence as they proudly posted online. I was abandoned. Grandma Marion took me in that very night. She gave me a home, paid for my education, and showed me what unconditional love really means. Now my parents are back, demanding $70,000 and threatening to sue me for half of Grandma's inheritance. They're threatening to destroy my reputation if I don't comply. But Grandma, being the wise teacher and observer of human nature that she was, saw this coming. My heart pounded as I uploaded the video file beneath my post. Grandma's face filled the screen, looking tired but determined, sitting in her hospital room. Her lawyer, Ms. Reynolds, visible in the background alongside video equipment that documented everything with precise timestamp. Vanessa, Grandma began, addressing my mother directly, her teacher's voice clear despite her illness. If you're watching this, it means you're trying to take what I left to Olivia. I knew you would. You're my daughter, and I love you, but your obsession with appearances and status has poisoned your heart. I, Marion Catherine James, being of sound mind and clear judgment, am recording this message in the presence of my attorney. I want to state explicitly why I've chosen to leave everything to my granddaughter Olivia. 7 years ago, you and Malcolm threw your own child away like she meant nothing. You refused to help with her education, refused to give her any support. You called her a burden. Your own daughter, who I watched you bring into this world. Then you had the audacity to post online about how proud you were of her independence. Olivia never told anyone what you did. She kept your secret, even when relatives praised you for raising such an independent daughter. She protected your carefully curated image while you abandoned her. I'm leaving my house, my savings, and everything I own to Olivia not because she manipulated me, as I'm sure you'll claim, but because she showed more character in her pain than you've shown in your entire life. This is my final decision, made with full mental capacity and witnessed by my lawyer. Olivia is my sole heir. That's all I have to say. The video ended with Grandma's lawyer confirming the date and circumstances of the recording, stating clearly for the record that Marion James was of sound mind and making this statement without coercion. I added a final line to my post: I've kept this video private for years, respecting Grandma's wishes to avoid family drama. But now that my parents are threatening legal action and spreading lies through social media, I have no choice but to share the truth. I'm sorry you all had to find out this way. My finger hovered over the post button for several seconds as I felt the weight of this moment. I thought about all the marketing psychology I'd studied about truth, authenticity, and how people respond to vulnerability. But this wasn't a marketing campaign, this was my life. With a strange sense of calm replacing my trembling, I clicked post. The responses started flooding in within minutes of my post. The first call came from Uncle Pierce. Olivia, his voice cracked with emotion. I had no idea. My God, I'm so sorry. I'm withdrawing from the case immediately. What they did to you, as both your uncle and a lawyer, I feel ashamed I didn't see through their manipulations. Aunt Lorelei called next, sobbing into the phone. That birthday dinner, I remember bringing you that design book the next week, but Vanessa said you'd moved out and were too busy to call. They seemed so proud posting about your independence journey. How could they twist everything so completely? The family group chat exploded with messages of shock, support, and apologies. Cousin Naomi, who'd cancelled her RSVP just days ago, wrote a long message. I feel horrible about judging you without knowing the truth. Your parents' Instagram posts painted such a different picture, all those family throwback photos with loving captions. Please tell me it's not too late to attend the wedding. I want to be there to support the real you, not the story they created. One by one, all the wedding cancellations were reversed. Relatives who'd condemned me just days before now reached out with heartfelt apologies and offers of support. Even distant family members I barely knew sent messages expressing their shock and sympathy. Your place card will be waiting, I told each one. No hard feelings. Through the family grapevine, I heard snippets about my parents. They'd moved in with some old college acquaintances, picking up temporary work where they could. Mom was doing basic bookkeeping for small businesses, Dad taking whatever financial advising gigs he could find. Their grand European investment venture had apparently crumbled years ago, though their social media had continued to show exotic European locations with carefully cropped backgrounds. Part of me expected to feel guilty about exposing them, about sharing Grandma's video. But sitting in my apartment the night before my wedding, looking at the photo of Grandma Marion on my mantel next to one of her watercolor paintings, I felt only a profound sense of peace. "You were right, Grandma," I whispered to her picture, running my fingers along the frame. The truth did set me free. Ethan found me there, wrapped his arms around me from behind, his embrace solid and grounding. "Any regrets?" he asked softly, his chin resting on my shoulder. I thought about the scared 18-year-old girl I'd been, packing her bags in silent desperation. About the grandmother who'd seen my creative spirit and saved me with her love and foresight. About the woman I'd become, stronger, wiser, more authentic, but no longer carrying the weight of other people's carefully constructed lies. "Not a single one," I replied, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. Tomorrow I'll walk down the aisle in a simple, elegant dress that reflects who I truly am, surrounded by family who know the real me, both the pain I've survived and the strength it gave me. My parents won't be there, but the empty seats won't matter. I have everything I need: love, truth, and finally, beautifully, peace. Some people might say I'm heartless for cutting my parents out of my life, for not helping them in their time of need. But I've learned that real family isn't about obligation or guilt or perfectly posed photos. It's about love, support, and truth. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is simply let go of the false images and embrace what's real.